In this video, we discuss the average 401k balance for a 60-year-old in June of 2022. Coming up next on Holy Schmidt.
Holy Schmidt!
For those of you who are in or close to retirement, there's a good chance you feel like you've been hit by a bus recently. Your retirement funds, most of which were in an age-based fund in your 401k, have taken a beating, and so now you're trying to figure out how you stack up against others your age. In the last month, I've talked with several of my friends that are close to retirement, and now they've told me that they plan on working for another 2, 3, maybe even 5 more years, given what's going on in the markets today. They said they just sat there and watched as their lifetime nest egg went down 10, 12, 15, even 20% over the first half of the year. And they didn't see any end in sight. One of them even asked me what I thought others had compared to them, because their friends had talked about how their investments were skyrocketing while this person's investments were plummeting. As we dug into it, I found out that some were in rental real estate. The price of rental real estate rent has gone up significantly over the last year or two. Some owned small businesses and had the benefit of an uplift in the cost of their products sold. Still others had a defined benefit plan, meaning that their benefits were defined by their employer, the amount that they would receive, so they were locked no matter what happened to the markets. They seemed to think that everybody they knew, virtually everybody they knew, had protection against a falling market and rising inflation, except them and maybe a few other people. That's not really true though. The vast majority of people are invested in a 401k, and they don't talk about their losses the way that their friends talk about their gains. In fact, those that are invested in a 401k, according to Vanguard Data, 81% of those invested in a 401k have age-based funds that they're invested in, and those have done really badly over the last 6 months. Age-based funds generally do pretty well unless there's a combination of variables that you can't put together in a model. Think about inflation. Think about a falling stock price. Think about rising interest rates. You put all three of those together and equity goes down, bond funds go down, and costs go up. Add to that worker shortages, supply chain issues, and skyrocketing gas prices, and everything from toilet tissue to baby formula goes through the roof. Under that scenario, things have gone worse than could be modeled out, and that's about where we are in June of 2022. My friends are conservative investors. They don't put their money in Bitcoin, and the only commodity that they invest in is soybeans, and that's the soybeans in their veggie burger when they go out to eat. Yet their portfolios are down almost 20%. Now, in June of 2022, there isn't a lot of data available out there about portfolio performance. That's usually saved for end of the year. But frankly, we don't have that type of time, and I want to get to you the most up-to-date and most accurate information I can, so I used some really good data, and then I made some modest assumptions, which I think most people would agree are the right assumptions, to come to the average 401k balance at June of 2022. Vanguard has some of the best 401k data available. It's quite current as data can be about the 401k plans that they have in their How America Saves 2022 report. This is where much of this information in this video comes from, combined with data from Vanguard and others on how their age-based plans have performed over the last 6 months. If you'd like a copy of the Vanguard How America Saves 2022 report, I'll put a link in the description, and I'll also remind you at the end so that you don't need to stop here. You can watch this video all the way through. The Vanguard report is filled with just about any type of information you need about a 401k plan. It has the average 401k balance by age, for example, what we're talking about here, through December 31st, 2021. It also has the contributions by age. It also has the information about the percentage of plan participants who use the age-based funds. A very big number, as we talked about before, 81%. How much people save as a percentage of their total income, dollar amount, and a lot more. It is a wonderful publication. There's only one problem. I mentioned it before. Even though it is titled How America Saves 2022, the data goes through December 31st, 2021. This means we have to do something to this information to make it current, and let's face it, the last 6 months have been a little rocky. Fortunately, we have enough information to give you a very, very clear picture. We have their data for participants between ages 55 and 64, so an average of 59.5, call it 60. We have the performance of age-based funds that have a target date of 2025 and 2030, for example. Both of them are approximately the same. We'll discuss this at the end, but it is rock solid data when it comes to adjusting the December 31st information. And we have the contribution amounts on average for people between ages 55 and 64 for 2021, and that information would not have changed much for the first half of 2022. Now, before we jump into it, it's important to note that the average 401k balance of a 60-year-old is not their entire asset base. It doesn't include their home. It doesn't include cash and investments outside of the 401k. It does not include their IRA. It doesn't include if their spouse has a 401k. And it doesn't include 401ks at other employers if they didn't roll those funds into their current 401k. In short, it is exactly what it is, the average 401k balance of a 60-year-old in this country. For completeness, I'm going to show it to you two ways. The mean balance, which is the total of all funds divided by the number of participants, and the median balance, which is simply the person in the middle when you stack them from top to bottom in terms of value. The person at the top has the highest 401k balance. The person at the bottom has the lowest 401k balance. The person right in the middle is the person who has the median 401k balance. By the way, these won't be remotely close. You'll have people who are at the very top who have had extraordinary performance on their investments. Maybe they started really, really early. Maybe they had fantastic employer matches. Maybe a combination of all three. And you'll have people at the bottom that have very low balances in their 401k, contributed for a few months and then stopped. But the person in the middle is going to be most representative of the benchmark that you are trying to compare yourself to, because that person is going to be the one that didn't have a lot of luck or skill, depending on how you look at the top, and the person at the bottom who just decided that they didn't really want to participate at all. Okay, let's start off with the December 31st, 2021 numbers. Unfortunately, these numbers are not reflective of what the numbers would look like in June of 2022. Unfortunately, not even close for most of you, but we do need to start somewhere. At December 31st, 2021, the mean balance of a 60-year-old's 401k was $256,244. The median balance was $89,719. You'll notice that the median is about 1/3 of the value of the mean. This again is because of the super wealthy people at the top who had a really good run with their 401k and seem to have done all the right things at the right time. Now we need to adjust these numbers, and let's be honest, those numbers are going to be down significantly from the numbers I just gave to you, unfortunately. So step one is to start with the December 31st, 2021 numbers. We just did that. The data does not give the contribution dollar amount for a 60-year-old in 2021, but it does give the average contribution, and that is 8.8%. According to Smart Asset, the average income of someone between ages 55 and 64 is $59,540. This means the average contribution for someone in this age category is $5,240 at 8.8%. Add an employer match, and if we assume the total contribution was about $8,000, we'd be in the right zip code. That means the half-year contribution would be about $4,000. The next step is to write down the total loss in the Vanguard age-based portfolio for the year 2025, the target year of 2025. In this case, it was 16.86% year to date. If you are age 60, this would imply that you're going to retire at age 63. Now, if you're going to retire later than that, candidly, the difference between the 2025 age-based portfolio and the 2030 age-based portfolio is about 1%. Add the $256,244 and the $4,000, you come up with $260,244, and then subtract 16.86% from that number. That is $43,877. This means that the mean average at June 2022 is $216,367. If we do the same exercise with the median value, you take $89,719, you add $4,000 to that, you come up with $93,719 as a starting number before the loss. Take 16.86% or $15,802 off of that number. This brings the median value to $77,918 as of June 2022. Of course, the $4,000 is contributed over 6 months, not at the beginning of the year, so it's not entirely accurate if you assume that entire $4,000 contribution had a 16.86% loss. But the difference, candidly, when we're talking about these types of numbers, is nominal. Whether it's 216 or 217,000 if you're talking about the mean, 78,000 or 79,000 if you're talking about the median, it doesn't really matter much. The point is that people who are approaching retirement have taken a big hit over the last 6 months. And for completeness, I'm going to give you the year-to-date returns for Vanguard, Fidelity, T-Rowe Price, and Principal for all of their 2025 age-based funds so that you can see not only are they pretty consistent, but you can see if there's one that has a slightly better performance versus the others. All of this information is between June 13th and June 15th, and it depends on when they release their numbers. As mentioned, the Vanguard 2025 portfolio was down 16.86%. The T-Rowe Price 2025 portfolio was down 14.56%. The Principal 2025 portfolio was down 16.44%. The Fidelity Freedom 2025 portfolio was down 17.25%. Also, I'll be discussing the average 401k balance of a 50-year-old in about a week. So if this is of interest to you, make sure you click subscribe and turn on notifications so that you get alerted when I post that video. As a reminder, make sure you check the description for the link to the Vanguard report. I promised you I would remind you at the end. Also, if you think this video would be useful for someone, you can forward it by choosing the share button below and choosing the best option for delivery. This is Jeff Schmidt. Thanks for watching.